Welcome back to the Flashracing Cup Series Season 4 for the FedEx 400 for the return of Richmond Raceway, the action track. And this track makes its first ever appearance in the Flashracing Cup Series since Season 1. Yeah, that's right, folks. We have went all the way up to this point with only one Richmond race in the Flashracing Cup Series history in Season 1. And now that we are in Season 4 with the next generation car, the action track, known as Richmond Raceway in Richmond, Virginia, will get a second chance in the Flashracing Cup Series to put on some iconic, exciting short track racing. Your points leader, Kyle Busch, finds himself starting in 8th place. He's got the most points in the field, more points than anybody, 300 points. It's going to take a long shot for the rest of the field to catch him. He is going to have the best shot of winning the regular season championship. And of course, don't rule out the other teams like Austin Cindric, as he has been absolutely fantastic this year. One race underneath the top 10. It's a fantastic, consistent year for the number 2 of Austin Cindric, and today will be no different. So we're going to see what this number 2 team brings to the table. And of course, the number 11 car, not that far off. He can win like the next 2 races and possibly become the points leader if the 18 goes through any issues. But this number 11 car has also been pretty good. Not better than the 18, but certainly in contention. Very close quarters with Kyle Busch. And speaking of close quarters for the points lead, let's take a look at these 2 drivers. We're going to start off with Simon Torres, who is in 2nd place in the points. He is still looking forward to continuing a fantastic season. Had to miss one race, and thankfully today he is in raceable condition. So we're going to have to see what the 71 car does as he's returning. He was able to start the last race at the road course. And now that we're back from Japan, we have re-arrived. We've arrived at Richmond Raceway here in Virginia, and he is ready to go and continue to compete for the championship in his first year with his brand new Toyota Sports race team. And of course, starting by him, Flash Racer. Flash Racer is still trying to break his long winless streak. It's almost become countless at this point. Flash Racer has been looking for victory lane ever since the Daytona 500 this season, and it's going to be really exciting. Can he finally get that next win? Of course, a top 5, a top 10, he's about done because he's been consistent all year up to this point, and of course, he's about done finishing 5th, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. It's time for him to go get the win, and with a car like he has today, it's not the best. He had a pretty weak car in practice and qualifying, but of course, race day is always different. Will Flash Racer take advantage of that? And of course, Jessica Monnet, your previous race winner, could certainly go back-to-back and win another race here in the Flashracing Cup Series. She just got her first win down in Tokyo at Road 256. So, of course, we're going to follow this story because there's another storyline in the Flashracing Cup Series. A possible rivalry with Austin Cindric. Of course, on the last lap, they beat and banged, and of course, Cindric felt like he was done wrong, and of course, they are in pretty close proximity to each other here, looking at the starting lineup, and it looks like there could be a possibility for these 2 drivers to race each other even harder today. Will Austin Cindric seek retaliation, or will he run his race to just perform better than the number 13? I think we got our money on the second option on that one. But both of these drivers have had great seasons as well. They're in the top 10 in points. Man, have they been good. Particularly the rookie, Austin Cindric, one of the best Flashracing Cup Series rookies we've seen since Izzy B, who is having one of the higher starting positions of this season. Will Wednesday Adams strike back and reclaim the title for being the best Ford driver in the Flashracing Cup Series? We're going to have to find that out today. That RTR Mustang is in good shape and is ready to roll off and have a great race. And of course, just look at Ross Chastain. Ever since we started qualifying these cars on speed a few races ago, particularly at the road course, when we started qualifying these cars on speed, Ross Chastain has found himself as a consistent qualifier in the top 5 and the top 10. Will the number 1 take advantage of that speed and become number 1 here today at the Richmond Raceway here in Virginia? We're going to have to find out. Ross Chastain, whenever he's in a good position, he hasn't found himself in many great positions this season. Will today be his will this be the day that Ross Chastain will find a way to break through the inconsistencies and come across the finish line, the first place driver, the winner, Ross Chastain, and the number 1. He's a championship contender in the Cup Series and, of course, in the Flashracing Cup Series. he plans to be no different whatsoever. It's going to be really exciting. Can that number 1 get it done? And of course, the pole sitters are Toyotas. Toyotas are the top race car currently in the Flashracing Cup Series with the most cars competitive on a weekly basis up to this point here in the Flashracing Cup Series Season 4. And before we go down the starting lineup, let's talk a little bit about Chevrolet. So Chevrolet has not won anything this year outside of the Clash earlier this year. And that is quite a shocker, as they have won a grand majority of the races, the manufacturer's title, and of course the driver's title with Chase Elliott. And of course, where has Chevrolet been this year? They have not been winning races. Yeah, they've had cars in the top 5, top 10, and they've certainly done a good job of making sure that most of their cars finish the races, but they have been falling behind the Mustangs and Camrys this year. So, will the Chevrolet Camaro become the car of the series, the car of the circuit, as it was last year? Will Chevrolet reclaim the top? Because they've got enough cars in here in the top 10 where they could easily pull something out. It's definitely going to be an uphill battle to reclaim that manufacturer's points lead from the last season. They are the champions, Chase Elliott. And speaking of Chase Elliott, here he is in the top 5 in the A-Shock Chev. Of course, final year of A-Shock sponsoring that car. So, we're going to have to see how this race goes. It's going to be a really exciting race here at Richmond. And we hope you guys tune in to watch the whole race. And of course, we're going to go down your starting lineup from the camera. As you can tell, we're going to go down the lineup here, and you guys are going to see where your favorite driver is starting here in the Flashracing Cup Series. I had to do a little bit of broadcast changes to hopefully cut down the time of the production. But as you guys look down the field, when you qualify the cars on speed, you get a much better idea of who the best cars are on the given race weekend, rather than just stacking up the top 10 based on where they are in the points like it's been for the first 3. But now that we are a little bit further into the year, it's time to do things right. We're going to qualify the cars on speed and make sure that the drivers who had the best cars in qualifying and practice, make sure that those guys have the best shot at winning. And it's going to be really exciting. Which drivers will take advantage of that? Of course, you've seen Ross Chastain up there. Of course, one of the biggest drivers to take on those advantages. Of course, Alex Ross is stepping himself up a little bit more. Just quite weak in terms of the Toyo Sport drivers. He might as well be the weakest, unfortunately, up to this point. He needs to get some points. Can today be the opportunity to get it? Of course, a pretty good run last race, but needs to be a lot better throughout the season for that number 89 car as we head to these other tracks. So, and of course, Philip Torres. Philip Torres has not won a race yet. At this point last year, he was already the winner of the Bristol Dirt Race. And of course, this season, there was no Bristol Dirt Race. It was an asphalt race and didn't quite come out the winner in that one. So, will Philip Torres eventually get his first win? There's a lot of drivers in here where we're questioning when will they get their first win. You could easily say the same thing for Chase Elliott. And of course, Martin Truex Jr. hasn't won a lot in his Flashracing Cup career. Will any of these drivers take that opportunity today? And of course, Tyler Reddick, of course, in his new ride, number 45. And so far, Richard Childress Racing does not look like they are going to bring in an 8 car for the Flashracing Cup Series. So it looks like the number 45 for the rest of the year will be driven by Tyler Reddick, and he will be in that car a year earlier. So without further ado, let's get the pre-race ceremonies on, talk about how the Flashracing Cup Series works, clear the cars from the racetrack, and go green for the FedEx 400 here at Richmond Raceway. It is about time, now that the engines are fired up and we're about to go green here shortly. Let's talk about how the Flashracing Cup Series as a diecast series works. Here we have the spinner, and you guys may recognize the spinner from the iconic Life board game. When you spin this spinner, that is where you're going to land on the racetrack, and of course that is why they have boxes out here. And yes, there have been some mistakes regarding this spinner. On a usual occasion, it is how it should be. The leader of the race, Denny Hamlin, the control car, he's going to get 5 spins. He's going to work his way through the gears and get these guys ready to go. So that is how the Flash Racing Cup Series works. You're going to see this work throughout the race. And of course, it's a very functional racing package. Of course, it pays tribute to the late Duralast Cup Series. Of course, it's not a stop motion, but it is just an unpredictable diecast series. I have no idea who's going to win this race. I have no control of who can win. It's all up to the spinner and the boxes on the racetrack. We've been using this since Season 2. And of course, in Season 4, we got a much better functional spinner that's not made out of cardboard and actually works. It even makes sound. How do you guys like that deal? So that is how this is going to work. So without further ado, let's get these cars cleared from the racetrack so that we can go green here at Richmond Raceway.